them proud, so let city bring it home. Let's go, Marshalls. Grab the dog, gates, feel we in the zone. Let's go, Marshalls. Make them proud, so let city bring it home. Let's go, Marshalls. Let's go. Let's go.
Hi, I'm Cos Green. Welcome to the program. A few years ago, a friend of mine said, let's go to breakfast and talk about baseball. So we hooked up for breakfast, and he started talking about the Marshalls baseball program. And I was like, the Marshalls? Who are they and where do they play? And he was like, oh yeah, you got to come out to Gates Field and learn more about the Marshalls. So I took my son, and I'll tell you, when we walked into Gates Field, I was absolutely blown away just by the sights and the sounds and the feel of Gates Field. And then once I understood what the Marshalls are and truly what their mission is to develop these baseball players, I was converted. And now I've been associated for a few years, and I want you to know more about the Marshalls. So I'm joined today by Chad Shepard. He's the director of the Marshalls. Chad, welcome to the program.
Hi, Cos. Thank you.
Let's talk about all things Marshalls today.
Yeah.
As I've looked at the website and watched some of the videos, I'm like, there needs to be something that tells the story, that gives us a sight, sound, motion, and emotion of what the Marshalls are, because it's truly special what you do with the Marshalls. And I promise to do this without getting choked up. But I'll tell you, you and I have shared some experiences with the men of the Marshalls, and it's nothing short of life transforming for some of these boys and men. So let's start there. Let's start with, what are the Marshalls? For people who have no idea who the Marshalls even are, where did it start? And let's take us back in the history a little bit.
Yeah, we got going 2007 was the first year of the Marshalls. Gates Field was built in 2004, and it was kind of a philanthropic effort by my boss to facilitate amateur baseball training on a national level. And so we kind of started doing it at that point, and it's kind of festered and grown into something kind of amazing. But at the end of the day, I would be honest when I'd say it started out, hey, we got to do some baseball stuff. We got to get kids playing baseball. We got to do this type of thing. So we kind of settled in on, for the most part, on the 18-year-old age group. It's a group that, is graduating from high school, going to college. They're about to make the biggest social jump, competitive jump, life-changing jump that they've made in their lives. And it's kind of become real interesting because over time it's evolved more from, hey, let's do baseball, to, hey, let's do baseball and all this stuff, to now it's like, hey, let's do this other stuff and we'll use baseball as the avenue or the car, so to speak. And so
it's really grown some legs over the 17 years.
Yes.
But it's sponsored by the Gates Foundation. So
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about Marshall Gates and where this all started.
Yeah, I'm real fortunate. So I grew up with Marshall, and the foundation was originally called the KP Gates Foundation, and then Marshall passed away when he was 23 years old. So and we grew up together. He's a baseball fan and a great guy and a really good friend.
Like you were his buddy. It was three amigos.
Yeah,
you?
a lot. Him and me and my brother. And so after that happened, the foundation was named the Marshall Gates Foundation. And as we started getting through that, it was kind of our attorney, Rob Taylor, said, hey, wouldn't it be great if the team was called the Marshalls? And so then we kind of developed the whole thing off the, sort of the cowboy mascot and, an old, Yosemite Sam type, Marshall type guy. And so that's kind of how it all started. But yeah, Marshall's a good kid, and he was a great friend and just a, one of the best people I've ever been around. And so it's really cool every day to do this, do the foundation and do the baseball, in honor of him. When he passed away when he was 23 to a heart ailment, just fell asleep and didn't wake up and more or less suffered a heart attack in his sleep. And so, it was pretty devastating and all that, but there's been a lot of good that's come out of that. And it's kind of been a focus and a drive to create, the best thing we can create in, kind of in his name and his honor. And it's a lot of fun.
The thing that I was most impressed with, one as a fan and 2, now being able to sit in the dugout and be your PA announcer for the last few years.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of biased, some of the things I'm going to talk about. But the thing that has always impressed me is this is first class.
Yeah.
And maybe you can talk a little bit about, because the Gates Foundation is very quiet.
Yes.
They're not out trying to raise millions of dollars to fund this program. There's a philanthropist behind it who makes sure everything's taken care of. I mean, we're talking about a team bus, the field. Once you come see the field, the equipment, the uniforms, just everything is first class. So this isn't some peewee baseball league. This feels like truly semi-professional baseball. It just has that feel to it. So talk a little bit about the Gates Foundation, though, and this mission of creating this world-class baseball experience. It's not just about 90 games a summer.
Yeah.
There's more to it than that.
Yeah, I mean, when the kids come in, and we evolved over time from one team.
Take us where we've been in 17 years.
Yeah,
You were
yeah.
One team, now you're 5.
We evolved at the start with one team, and then we had a second team for a long time, that was called the Bucks, and that was, kind of with John Buck and his stuff and how he helped the foundation and all that stuff in honor of his brother who passed away too at a young age. And so for a few years we were the Marshalls and the Bucks, and we were running around and playing 17 and 18-year-old baseball and doing really well, and over time it evolved. 18-year-old baseball was kind of dying. Kids were starting to go, well, I just need to work out and get ready to go to college, and I just need to do this and that. And so there really wasn't a whole lot of teams to play. We were still getting our guys. But, I think one summer we were like 71-5. And baseball.
You played 76 games.
We did. And I think
in what time frame?
From June, probably that summer was probably June 8th till August 5th.
And you had your bus, and you're going up and down the West Coast. You actually went to Alaska.
Yeah.
I mean, this was serious stuff.
Yeah, and the problem is baseball is not meant to be played at 71-5. So the reality is we had 60 of those wins before we even started in the summer on paper, So we started evolving and going, how can we help more guys? How can we make it more competitive for us? And we kind of, in fact, right before COVID, we were starting to talk, well, we could do our own league. Instead of bringing in our own 35 guys and then traveling all over the place, why don't we just bring in 150 guys and create our own league? And so that's where we're at now. We're going to be at 5 teams this summer. And over the course of the last 17 years, we're thousands of college players.
Yeah, let me highlight that.
Yeah.
So for nearly 2 decades, the nation's top college baseball recruits and draft prospects have been leaving home after high school to join the Marshalls in Salt Lake City. During their time with the team, players receive professional level training and face elite competition to prepare for the next step in their careers. Get this, the Marshalls baseball program has produced over 120 Major League Baseball draft picks and more than 800 collegiate players, solidifying its reputation as a powerhouse in player development. The Marshalls Baseball League truly stands in a league of its own.
And that's true.
That's something you can be proud of.
Well, I do believe this. I don't think anybody in like college summer baseball or amateur summer baseball, quite frankly, nobody really does what we do. Part of that.
I frankly didn't get it.
Yeah.
Okay, the first couple of years I announced some games.
Yeah.
But I wasn't behind the scenes. I didn't get to know the boys. I didn't see their workouts and all that. So help us understand, coaches reach out to you from all over the country and say, I've got a young man that I want to send to the Marshalls, and then you put them up in a hotel.
Yeah.
They're clothed.
Yeah.
They're transported to all these baseball games. Tell us about the program. This is impressive.
Yeah, and that's, so we basically work a lot off college placement where the coaches, kind of send their guys and want them done. In fact, I probably turned down 200 guys this year, which is disappointing because you want to help everybody. But at some point, you can't, help everybody like that. But, we try and factor in taking the elite players as well as good kids who want to be good human beings, want to do good things and stuff like that. It doesn't mean we steer away from trouble, but we definitely want to be able to help guys and help kids. So, we're trying to, make sure that, it's more than about just baseball.
Because when they come here, it's a lifestyle.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? They're on the clock.
Well, and they got to grind.
Months.
There's a lot of kids, and I say this a lot, and I don't mean it in a derogatory way, but there's kids that they love baseball and they want to do it all the time. And then there's guys who think they love baseball and deep down, they're just kind of pretending they love to do it. And during the summer, we do separate the men from the boys a little bit on that because it's a grind. They have weights. They have speed and explosion training. They have position development. You know what I mean? Then they have their games every night for 50 plus straight days. And on top of that, we do some sports psychology stuff with Zach Sorensen, who does a great job. He works with a couple major league teams. We do some drug and alcohol counseling. We give them some basic information on financial planning. We're planning some community service projects this year just to kind of get them involved in that, make them well-rounded, and have a little respect for the world that they're a part of, and that's a good thing. So,
do you think that surprises many of the players when they come?
Yeah.
They're like, I'm going to play baseball for the summer.
Yeah.
And then they realize, I got to get up. I got to go to my workouts. I got to go to my workshops. And I'm playing every single day a competitive game. Now, let me just talk about this for a second, because this is what's cool. When you come to Gates Field and you look around the field, you'll notice all kinds of cameras, okay? Some that look kind of like big radar guns. And I wasn't sure what they were at first. And then a lot of cameras have been added this year too. But every pitch, every swing is actually analyzed.
Yes.
So they're not just playing baseball. They're being coached by some of the best.
Yep.
They're truly trained and developed and compete. So let's talk a little bit more about just the depth of the players, and then let's talk about the personnel that helps develop these players. So this year, 2025, where are some of these players coming from?
I think we've got about 25 states. We have some coming from Mississippi, Texas, Arizona, and then all over the West Coast. And then we always get a patch of guys from the upper Midwest, Minnesota, Michigan, Iowa, Wisconsin, places like that. We even have a left-handed pitcher coming from Alaska this year. So really, it's actually my goal at one point to have a Marshal from every single state.
That would be it.
So we're actually getting close. I think we're 10 or 12 states away. I mean, I don't know what I'm going to do, in like Maine and Rhode Island and Delaware.
They don't play baseball there, do they?
Well, somebody's going to have to.
Right.
Because it's going to happen,
Yes,
you know
absolutely.
what I mean? So, but no, they come in from all over the place. They've been, sort of placed by their college coaches and that we work with and stuff like that. And we're always building new relationships with everybody. But yeah, they're coming in and they do get their eyes opened a little bit to this. They do. Some kids call and go, "Hey, I'm looking for a place to get some at bats this summer." I go, "Don't cheapen what we do to at bats." I mean, and they
Go
don't
to batting practice
Yeah,
somewhere.
they don't really mean it like that. They're
Right.
looking for a place to play. But I like to think what we do at bats is almost one of the small things. You know what I mean?
Right.
From everything.
It reminds me of that scene in Field of Dreams when Kevin Costner is driving back and they pick up Moonlight Graham on the side of the road, and he says, "I'm looking for somewhere to play."
Yeah.
And there's a spirit about this with the Marshalls.
Yeah.
And so if you're in Utah, I want to invite you to go to mgfmarshalls.com and check out the schedule. And the crazy thing about it is there's not necessarily a lot of people in the stands because you don't have a lot of Utah players.
No, they're from
This
all
year
over.
you've got a great story.
Yeah.
So if you just noticed recently, the Salt Lake Community College Bruins won the national championship in junior college baseball. And so you've got 12 of those players on the various Marshalls teams this year, don't you?
Yeah, and some of their incoming recruits and a bunch of their players that played last year played. And so we've probably got 25, 26 guys that were on their roster this year that at some point had played in the program.
And their coaches part of the program too.
Their coaches come around and help and mentor a little bit and do those type of things, and really a connected involvement, and it benefits not only us but it benefits their program, and it's a really good thing that's going on with that. So
you've seen some of these boys come to the Marshalls for a summer or two, become men, and go on to the bigs.
yeah.
Tell us about one of your favorite stories where that actually happened.
Well, I would say back early, one of the cool things we had is, and really something that helped put us on the map, and everybody goes, oh, they're going there. Because, when we first started, the 2007 team was nothing but Utah guys. So it was only Utah guys. It happened to be a great class, though. It had like 6 or 7 draft picks, which doesn't happen every year, And of course, the draft's changed now, but back then, there used to be 40 rounds and stuff like that. So it was a really good team. I think it went like 48-2.
Wow.
And we flew around and we won the Hawaii World Series and some Vegas tournament and, a couple tournaments here and all that stuff. But it was a great class. It had, 20 Division I guys. It happened to just be the perfect class for Utah. And so the next year we started to get some out-of-state guys and out-of-town guys. And we started that process to fulfill our sort of our assignment as a national training foundation, which is what the foundation's, status is. And so we started calling around and doing some things, and we kind of locked onto a group of guys out of Las Vegas that really helped. There was a couple fall teams that were cool, but there was a group of 2 years where we had Bryce Harper, Chris Bryant, a Team USA guy named Marcus Littlewood, which his dad helps us now with player development, Mike Littlewood, and a kid named Eric Fetty, and that really kind of set the tone a little bit. Not that the players we had weren't already good, but the national recognition, those guys, Bryce played for the program right after he came off being on the cover of Sports Illustrated.
Wow.
And all of a sudden when I started calling the next time to get guys, it wasn't like, Utah, I go play baseball in Utah. Why would I do that? I live in Southern California, or I live in Vegas, or I live in Arizona or Texas. It wasn't that way anymore. So the program's built on the backs and of all the coaches and all those, but all those players that have grinded it out and gone to Division I and played 4 years, or gone to junior college and played 4 years. But it definitely helped getting the big timers in, which gave us that recognition right away to going, oh man, there must be something good going on there. And it's really just kind of taken off ever since. And now, honestly, we could field 10 teams of players. Pitchers are a little tricky sometimes, but it's kind of cool how it's going.
So let's talk a little bit more about the players this year without giving any names.
Okay.
Tell us a little bit more about where they're from, what kind of roles they're going to fill, what your expectations are of the 2025 teams that you'll field and the whole program for the summer.
Yeah, I mean, the crazy thing about what we do is we see them on paper and we talk to coaches, and these coaches are the best in the business, so we usually trust what they do. I expect this summer to be really good. Like there's some big time players coming in, some draft guys and some guys who are area code guys. And I look at these things and I go, the draft's changed, but between this year and 2 years and 3 years from now, when they can all go through the cycle of possibly getting drafted, out of 150 players on this list, I think there's 70 or 80 potential draft picks someday.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, they're really good players from really good schools. And and the amateur baseball world's changing, college baseball's changing, and like I was saying before, as we cycled to a league, we started to see a lot of guys maybe not wanting to play their 18-year-old year, and a lot of kids not wanting to pitch their 18-year-old year because they'd done all this stuff, they got recruited, now they were going to take the summer off and work out and go get ready to go to college. Well, that's changed.
Because now they're going to come work.
Well, and they're starting to feel the pressure, because if you notice, the transfer portal and scholarships, are no longer like guaranteed. Not that they ever were, but they were. It was a big deal to cut a guy. Now, half the rosters these days are getting cut after the summer or after the fall or the full calendar year. So there's definitely a level of pressure, which I think makes us even more important, because we have got to get them ready to go. We've got to get them kind of socially and athletically ready to go be successful, because we all know the downturns and things like that can happen in 18, 19, 20-year-old kids, and especially if their dream goes away. The thing they've been working for since they were 8 years old disappears on them. And so that's what we're trying to do, is make sure that we give them every opportunity possible to be ready to go earn a spot and go compete and go, make a difference on their team as a freshman, so they have some staying power and kind of finish their baseball career off on their terms, as opposed to, kind of being left with something else. So it's really important now more than ever.
Is there anything else like the Marshalls in this country? I
No.
mean, you got the Cape Cod League. That's
Yeah.
a little different, but where does this fit into?
Well, I would like
Does it
to
have its equivalent?
Yeah, I would actually like to think that the talent level we have is probably just a younger Cape Cod deal. There's the teams, the rosters and the teams we have, a lot of our guys go play in the Cape the next year, and they're just 18-year-olds or some 19-year-olds. But 90% of the league is 18-year-old kids. You know what I mean? And so we've had a lot of kids who play here, and then a year or two later they're in the Cape. And so I'd like to think that's kind of the trajectory they're on. The best players that play in our league can definitely go play in the Cape. There's no doubt about that. And so but there isn't anything like it, especially for 18-year-old baseball. There's a lot of things that might look like it. Like for instance, if you take an 18-year-old team to a tournament, you'll find a really good you'll find 5 or 6 really good teams at a tournament. But then when that tournament's over, those kids go home, they go do whatever they do, and then they might go lift on their own, they might go do something else, and then they play again in a tournament 2 or 3 weeks later. And the college summer leagues, most of the college summer leagues, are pretty much built on, it's like almost like a baseball business,
right,
in a sense.
They develop teams,
they develop
pay
teams,
money
but
in.
a lot of them play on like city fields, and they can't even get extra work in. They can't get practice in. They bring them in. They have host families. They do that type of stuff. I mean, and I say it a lot, and I don't mean it like, to overdo it, but the most of the college summer leagues exist, most of those franchises are built to sort of make money.
Sure. They're franchises to that point.
And it costs $1
right?
million to buy one and all that stuff. And so those kids are really there while they're getting theirs too. The reality is they're staying with a host family. They're charting around on buses for 6 to 8 hours.
Yeah, probably some school bus.
Absolutely, and doing those type of things.
Right.
But the reality is they're there so that the franchise can sell tickets and beer. I mean, that's kind of what's going on, and advertising and all that stuff. And so that's where we're the opposite.
Absolutely. And I want to underscore this. This is completely different from that. And again, I wasn't able to see behind the curtain for the first couple of years. Now that I've seen behind the curtain, I'm truly humbled by what the Marshalls do. The quality of the transportation. They're not staying at the Motel 6 off.
No, we're
700
host
South.
families. Host families are great. One out of every 10 guys gets the best host family on the planet they'll connect to. But if you talk to most guys, host families like scare the crap out of them.
Right.
Well, it's just different. You're going to live in somebody's house.
But they're staying at a hotel
Yes.
where they have some responsibilities.
With other guys on the team.
Yes, with other
Yeah.
guys on the team. I mean,
and they're growing up. That's the idea. It's like the first time they lived away at home. It's an 8-week trial process for them to cook for themselves, do their own laundry. And every now and then I get a call from a concerned parent going, I just don't know how my kid's going to eat. I don't know how this. I go, well, they're primitive. They'll probably not starve.
They'll
you know
figure
what
it out.
I mean, they do get free breakfast every morning, so we can start there. So.
Thank you, Embassy. Thank you, Embassy Suites, for the omelet bar.
The
We love
Embassy
that
and the
Embassy
Hyatt,
Suites.
the
Yeah.
Hyatt House
Anyway.
and the Residence Inn all in Sandy. We kind of
They got to love you.
We just
55 hotel nights.
Yeah, we just dive in on those that area. You know what I mean? So it's pretty cool. And then we, like I said, we have an office. We train at the Mountain West Baseball Academy. It's got a
Which
great
is
weight
first
room,
class.
extra everything. So the reality is, at the end of the day, we're baseball first, and we're not even revenue second. We're probably revenue 10th. We don't even think about it. We charge some ticket gate money to get in and stuff
Yeah, and
like
that was a spit in the wind.
Yeah,
to be
it was
honest.
really just, we didn't even
talk
take
about that for a
tickets. We
second.
didn't even take tickets for like the first 15 years. And we're thinking, well, if we can, get people to buy tickets, then they might show up and then we might get some more people. So really that's all just been a process to try and get people to think there's value in coming and stuff like that, more so than taking it. But you know what I mean? We spend 20 times more money than we even think about taking in.
50 times more.
Yeah. And
So
that's the difference.
So if somebody's fortunate enough to be in Utah, so I'm going to make this invitation. Again, go to mgfmarshalls.com. Look at the schedule for the entire summer. Come out this summer. Bring your whole family. There's actually Marshalls Nights where you can enroll your whole company. Have a company night at Gates Field. Have all your employees come. Have an amazing night at the ball field.
Yeah, we give you free tickets. Like I said,
The best part, it's that 4-letter F word we were talking about avoiding. No, this is another one, free.
Yeah,
Let's have the free word.
That's exactly it. They're and the whole idea is just to bring people out, have a little experience, have a little bit of fun, and maybe come back and watch a game at some point, because the kids, that's one of the steps to them maturing and getting better and understanding pressure and understanding all that is having a bunch of people watching them. And so that's kind of part of the program that we
and it's exciting. The acoustics of Gates Field are amazing.
Yeah, you feel like
you fill those stands. So talk about that. 700 seats, but there could be 2,500 on the berm and everything. Talk about the experience of the game, because that's very cool.
It's kind of interesting because we get used to it. As I walk in, I've walked in there for, since 2005.
Your truck's on autopilot.
Yeah. And so, the funny thing is actually I forgot to start. I actually designed Gates Field and I can kind of tell you where everything came from.
Yes.
Entryway is same entry as like Doubleday Field. And then some of the roof cover and stadium effects go back to some old major league stadiums.
Yeah, while you're talking, we're putting some pictures of this over the top of you talking.
Yeah,
and so, more about Gates
and
Field.
then the underground press box and everything filmed like it's real tight. We were a little limited on space, so we kind of had to figure out a way to stuff everything in there. But it really turned out. But yeah, when you walk in there, it's just fascinating, and the grounds crew does an incredible job, and the field's
first class grounds crew, by the way.
And the field's immaculate, and there's ivy on the outfield fence, and the best is when you sit out there on 24th of July or 4th of July, there's fireworks going out in the outfield all night long, all over the valley. It overlooks the Salt Lake Valley, but it's just a great vibe, and you forget how nice it is there in the summer evening.
So nice.
Oh, it's just, it's a roof-covered spot, so if it's 92 outside, it's still 75 under the roof, and there's always a slight breeze, and it just feels good, and it's a good place.
Face east, so that sunset's never in your face.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, and that worked out real well. We didn't really we sort of had to do what we had to do with the field, but it turned out that that's the best way to face a ballpark, without a doubt. It's really cool. So it's a great place, and I take it for granted because I'm there all the time, but every time people come, I watch people and they take pictures and do that type of stuff. And it takes me back to the first time I walked in there when it was completed, and it was something special.
It is very, very special.
Real intimate type.
It is one of Utah's best kept secrets. It's a gem of a baseball field. And every year when I say I'm out at Gates Field, there's always some knucklehead on Facebook that says, and kids don't play there and all this other stuff. Well, there's a reason why it has a lock on the gate so that people aren't destroying that field, because it is a beautiful field, and it's immaculately kept, and it just that's what makes that experience amazing as well. Is just everything. It feels like a major league ball field. I've been to the best. I lived in Chicago when the Cubbies won in 2016. I lived at Wrigley. I know what it feels like to be in a ball field like that, and it has that feel of a ball field. So if you're in Utah, I invite you to come out. And if you're not in Utah, you can still go to mgfmarshalls.com, and you'll see links there of actually watching the games, because we have a lot of fans who join us on the stream.
Yeah. Based on the number of kids we have from out of state. And that's a little bit of the push, is to try and make sure we have a really good thing so those people at home that, a lot of parents actually make it out and come out for a week or come out for 2 weekends. And we even have parents come stay the whole summer, and they always call me and ask if that's okay. And I'm like, the more the merrier. It's awesome out there, but yeah, it's, an opportunity for them to watch their kid do their thing and, see the progress they're making and all that stuff. But I would say I usually get, 20 or 30 phone calls, in the middle of August after every summer's over, from moms and dads and stuff like that about kids that were in the program. And the crazy thing is it's never about baseball. It hasn't been about baseball. Maybe 1 or 2 times was it about baseball. It's always about, my kid's like grown up. He's like mature. I'm not worried about him going to college anymore. You know what I mean? And so those were the type of calls that really shaped my idea to going, we got some responsibility here. We can do the baseball thing, and we're really good at it. But what we need to do is do the other stuff too. And so that's kind of where we're, headed with that, is trying to make sure that we encompass everything these guys need and build a community and have some more events and things like that, where not only people can be a part of the Marshalls and feel that vibe that we feel all the time when we're out there, but, do some good and help, guys navigate, especially young adults, late teenagers navigate, some of these pitfalls that come their way that, quite frankly, they're just not prepared for. And it's unfair that they have to navigate that at those ages. So we're trying to do that.
Talk about the team behind you. You do a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm learning more and more about how many phone calls you take, how busy you are with accommodations, transportation, the baseball thing.
Yeah.
But you're not doing this alone. Talk a little bit more about your team.
No, I joke all the time that I used to be a baseball guy. Now I'm just a paperwork guy, you know what I mean, who organizes baseball, and then I sit back and let everybody else coach it, you know. So we got a good staff. We have some coaches that are back, some local high school coaches. We have a high school coach that comes out of Vegas every year to do it. His name's Robbie Jacobson. He manages the Blue Crew. We have Eric Morgan, who he was the head coach at Skyline High School. Nuho Kraya, he's at Riverton High School. And these are good young baseball guys who love the game, love to teach it, and really invest their mind and brain into it. I mean, that's kind of the cool thing about what we got going is everybody sort of buys into what we do, because honestly, the guys that don't, we just don't have them around anymore. You know, you kind of have to be, you know, a bigger picture thinker instead of just trying to win this game or you know, get this pitcher to throw some extra pitches so you can win and things like that. The Mauves team, the purple team, they've got Kelton Caldwell back. Kelton's been coaching in the North Woods League for the last few years, and he coaches in NAI high school in Florida. And he's great because he actually played for the Marshalls.
Really?
And so
well, that's a fun
to do a
success
coaching
story.
career, and he called me and said, "Hey, I want to come back. I want to come back to Salt Lake for a summer. You got a spot for me?" I said, "I don't know. I'll find you one, though." You know what I mean? Because he's a great guy. So, and then our last coach is Brock Whitney, who's got the red team, and he's the head coach at Mountain Ridge. So we get these young baseball professional types who do these things, and then they get to come and coach with us in the summer, and we have a lot of fun. And then we've got a handful of assistant coaches and things like that.
And then you got some specialists too, right?
Yeah. And
Former
so,
BYU coach.
Yes. So Mike Littlewood runs all our player development, and he's as good a baseball guy as anybody I've ever met. I mean, I think that, you know, he's as good as any Division I coach in this country, and he's really good at what he does. And then we've got DG Nelson, the head coach at Salt Lake Community College,
who just won a national
who's a consultant
championship.
on our pitching mechanics and
Wow.
things like that. So he's a really good pitching guy. He's an overall great head coach, but you know, his knowledge of the pitching mechanics and stuff like that really keep our guys healthy. So we start to pick out potential arm injuries and things like that and set a program for these guys to stay healthy and happy and be ready to go to college to compete. You know, and then Dusty Nielsen, who's he's kind of the pitching coordinator. He keeps track of everybody who's available, who's not available. It's quite the undertaking. So, you know,
Yeah, I mean, you keep track right down to how many pitches.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm sitting there and you're like, nope, he's done. He's got to come out.
Yep.
And I have to tell you what's very cool. So for the first couple of years, I just called the games, but now I actually have a laptop and I'm tapped into the system, and you can talk about this a little bit. So I'm watching every pitch.
Yeah.
And now I'm paying attention to the velocity of the ball, the drop horizontally, vertically.
The spin rate, all
the
that
spin
stuff.
rate. I'm like into it. Every single one of these pitches is being analyzed.
Yeah.
So they're not just coming to play baseball. They are really here to learn how to develop their craft as baseball players.
Yeah, and we try and, you know, toe that line between.
There's a balance, right?
Yeah, like, hey, they're still just kind of getting after it and going to play, and then what can we learn from these numbers? And, you know,
But it's still fascinating.
don't try and
to see
get the
that.
paralysis by analysis
Right,
stuff.
I
you know,
agree,
because
but it's still fascinating.
You know, I just had to chew a kid last year because his team's down like 12-1, and he smashes a home run to right center, and so now they're down 12-2. And he sprints into the dugout all happy, and the first thing he does is run back to look at the launch angle and the exit velo and stuff like that. And I reminded him he was getting his butt kicked. So that's not a good time to go back and see.
Let me just tell you, if any of these boys ever find their egos getting too big for Gates Field, there's this voice that I can hear in my head sometimes called the Chad voice that in a loving way, but in a stern way, reminds them what this is all about. And you know what? I think it was last year, there was one night, and one of the teams, they were just being boys at the end of the game, and I think either they beat the other team soundly or they got beat soundly.
Yep.
And you walked into the dugout, and they got an earful.
Yeah.
And I was actually impressed by that.
Yeah.
Because it was middle of June, so it was starting the year. But it just showed how important every game was, and every skilled player needed to play their position. Pitchers needed to do things right, and that they really needed to come together as a team.
Yeah.
and not to take any of those little things for granted.
Yeah. It's probably some of the best thing we do is that they understand the importance of not giving up an at bat, not doing those type of things. Baseball's a failure game, and it's hard. It's even harder when you get yourself out or you don't focus. At the end of the day, I feel like it's my responsibility to get them ready. And they may go to college and they might have one chance. They might have two. They might have three. If they're really, really good, they might have 100. But at the end of the day, I might be the first person to really get up their butt a little bit. I might be the first person to tell them the truth.
Right.
And I do tell them a lot. I say, guys, I'm here to tell you at the end of the day, you might not like me a whole lot this summer, and it might be a little bit of a while till you understand where I'm coming from. But I promise you in 2 or 3 years, whenever that time takes, you'll be grateful for how I'm writing you. And I don't care who you are. And because some guys come in and they're, prima donnas is a bad word, but they've never been told no. They don't know. Everybody wanted them to play on their team. They wanted them and they gave them everything. Hey, we'll let you hit. We'll let you pitch. We'll let you do this. Everybody gets treated the same here. And if you don't play hard and you don't focus, then you go to the bench just like the next guy. And so really they need to understand that. The other thing that I take seriously is every game probably costs somewhere around $2,000 to $3,000 to put on.
That's crazy.
If you take the ultimate number
Sure.
of what the field costs and everything like that, we're spending $2,000 or $3,000 to put a game on.
And you're doing 2 of those a night all summer.
I'll be damned if we're not going to take it seriously and we're going to go through the motions and we're not going to take advantage of those opportunities. And sometimes, because they don't pay for it, I think they just think it's okay. And so I remind them.
Oh, they pay for it.
Yeah. I remind them that there's still a big deal going on and we're doing it. And I'm okay if somebody gets really mad and goes. Yeah, I think.
What do you mean goes?
Goes home.
Leaves?
Yeah, like, hey, I don't think you're treating me fairly. Okay, then.
Or if I remember correctly, or a parent doesn't think something.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, go home then.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that usually comes from people thinking they get special treatment and things like that, and we don't do that either. And I give this credit to like I told the guys before, like Bryce Harper, Chris Bryant, Marcus Littlewood, Eric Fetty, some of the original core guys that gave us some real jump there. I go back to those days, and those guys never asked for anything special. They didn't. They just
the same omelet every morning.
They just wanted to play baseball. That's all they wanted to do. And so I've gotten calls before, from parents asking me if I'm going to fly them out to watch their kid play and things like that. And I go, no, everybody gets treated the same. I don't, now, there's some programs we do on a need basis, but all that is just ego and trying to get something for free. And in fact, one of the guys was like an ex-big leaguer that wanted to send his son out. And I go, I'm guessing you got the money, we just don't do that,
So he'll eat well.
But I still go back to the best thing that happened was having some of those guys in and those guys not needing anything special. They just wanted to play and compete.
And that's what made them special.
Absolutely. So to this day, we come to 2025. For the last, 15 years since that happened, I go, well, Bryce didn't need anything special. Chris didn't need anything special. Eric didn't need anything special. Marcus Littlewood didn't need anything special. So I'm guessing you don't. And it really helps me put it all in perspective because it was probably a good lesson for me and great that those guys were that way because they've shaped something for 15 years by being that way. And they didn't even know at the time. They just wanted to play baseball.
And like you've said, it's more than just baseball.
Yeah.
So the Marshall season goes mid-June through the end of July, and then there's the Gates World Series. Take just a second and talk about what's the Gates World Series, how it all kind of comes together the end of July, first part of August.
Yeah, so we bring in it's probably eight or nine other college summer teams. They're usually independent summer teams. We've had teams out of Arizona and Alaska and California and Idaho and Colorado and Kansas and places like that. And they bring in their college summer teams. It's a good matchup for us because most of those teams are 22, 23, 24-year-olds. And our guys are predominantly 18. We are probably on paper way more talented than they are. but they have experience. Give me an 18-year-old kid who's going to college who might have a whole boatload of talent. You might take a 24-year-old Division III guy who has been playing and knows how to mix pitches and move them up and down and get everybody out. So it's a really good matchup for us, and we've been fairly successful in that tournament. But the foundation puts that tournament on. We house all the teams when they come in.
Wow.
When we pay all the baseball expenses. So the foundation not only funds the Marshalls, we fund that tournament that allows, 8 teams of another 25 guys, another 200 people to come into Salt Lake, play Gatesfield, play the Marshalls, play other teams in the tournament, and have a good thing. Because a lot of those independent college summer teams, they're on pay-to-play stuff. So all those kids have to pay $2,500 to play on their summer team, because those are smaller type summer teams. And so we help those guys too, and the foundation helps those guys too. And so we meet some really good people that way, and the kids are great, and it's fun to watch those kids have a chance to play at Gatesfield and play as well. So like I said, it's not just the Marshalls. The foundation does a lot for a lot of people. And it's been hosting that Gatesfield tournament and paying for housing and baseball and umpires and hotel rooms for all the teams that come in since 2008.
That's amazing.
So, so even guys that haven't been Marshalls, we've spent a lot of money, developing baseball, from, probably the Mississippi West, you know what I mean? So,
well, and kudos to the Marshall Gates Foundation and who sits behind that. I didn't even know anything about that for the first 3 years. Finally met a gentleman that has something to do with that. Very quiet, very humble.
Yes.
Doesn't want any accolades. To me, that's what makes this special.
Yeah.
Because you don't have some front guy out there running around saying, look at me, look what I do, look what I do.
Yeah.
This is quiet giving that I believe in at the highest level, and it's just a beautiful thing.
Yeah, he's a great man, and he just likes to see the kids benefit. He likes to see them develop, and he likes the fact that, his son is his name is, and there's kids benefiting from that and all that stuff. But yeah, there's probably nobody better. I mean, I
didn't meet him for 3 years.
No, you don't meet anybody.
And I remember once you were like, yeah, he's here tonight. And I'm like, and you didn't introduce me.
No, a lot of times
you weren't going to. And I went to the concessions to get a Coke or something. And there was this gentleman buying a hot dog.
Yeah.
And then I come to find out later, it was him.
Yeah.
But he bought his own hot dog. He buys his own gear, and it's a crazy word to use with baseball in a summer league like this, but it really is special.
Yeah, and when he does come to the stadium, usually in the summertime to watch the Marshalls, he usually sneaks along the back and goes out and stands out on the berm and talks to our grounds crew and all that stuff, and kind of just does his thing, and sometimes I don't even see him. You know what I mean? He definitely doesn't come down and be forefront. And yeah, he's a good guy. He does things because and he loves the program, and he loves what it's done and all that stuff. But yeah, he's definitely not like a me first. I gotta be at the forefront of everything and show you what I'm doing.
Heck, the world could have learned a lot from him.
Well, yeah, I mean, he got inducted into the Utah Sports Hall of Fame last year as a contributor. And his whole entire acceptance speech was about other people and what they'd done for him and how other people have done this stuff. And he's an amazing human being, and I always tell the guys, I benefit more than anybody because I get to do this for my job in my one of my best friends' names, and then the kids that they benefit from that stuff more than anybody. So we all got to take it seriously. Back to the I demand a lot out of myself and accountability to make sure things are right, and that's why we get after the kids a little bit, but it's only to help them, and it's cool.
Now you're just getting into doing events and things like that. Wasn't last year Meet the Marshalls the first time you did that?
Yeah.
So let's talk about that event for those that will watch this video before June 16th, 2025. Let's talk a little bit, just a minute, about the Meet the Marshalls. What is that night? And then does that really help the foundation, or what's its purpose?
Well, really, it's just kind of, again, to bring sort of attention and some of the things we do. It's really cool for a lot of people, but, the baseball community and things like that to come out. You got 150 future stars hanging out, watching a band play. We've got some food trucks and things like that. It's held up at Lakai, and then we also have a presenting speaker that does all our sports psychology stuff. So it's a real good opportunity for young players, and I wouldn't even say necessarily just baseball players, but it helps if they're baseball fans in a sense. But
it was fun to see young peewee type minor league players last year in their jerseys and looking up to these 18-year-olds like they were pros, because when you're 7 or 8 and you look at an 18-year-old, they are older and they just have that feel for them. It was a special night at Lakai.
It is, and we're able to recreate that. And like I said, we really it's kind of just attention and bring some notoriety to the things we're doing with the foundation, stuff like that. It's just a night of fun, really, and the kids enjoy it.
But you're not trying to fund the program from that.
No, it breaks even at best. So,
you're a true nonprofit. Let me just say that after working with a lot of nonprofits over the last few years and raised millions of dollars. Okay, don't use this model. Don't use the Gates Foundation
I tell everybody,
model.
if I was running a business, we'd be bankrupt. It would have been a half-year program, not a 17-year program. So, it's really just a fun event. I mean, I think the tickets are $25 to come up, and then you can buy your own food at the food trucks and things like that. But there'll be a band there.
Oh, heck, do the VIP package.
It gets your family and all that stuff.
That way you get some tickets.
The lounge bar's open and stuff like that. And there's a cool little cover band called Slow Ride. They do a great job playing music. And the plaza at Lakai looking up towards Little Cottonwood Canyon, is fascinating. You know what I mean? So it's a great night. It's a lot of fun. We play a little cornhole. I think we played some bocce ball last year, and just have a good time to come up and hang out. And like I said, Zach Sorensen will be up speaking at I think 6:30 or 7 o'clock that night, going over some mental conditioning and training tips for athletes. So really any athlete could come. But
I think any athlete at all could benefit from just baseball.
No, I agree.
So go to mgfmarshalls.com. All the details are there under the events tab. And join us June 16th at Lakai for Meet the Marshalls. There's also a camp that you're doing towards the end of June.
Yeah.
That's for younger kids. So
youth
you're
camp.
also doing things like that during the season.
Yeah, and those are just kind of like, again, back to events. We don't, we don't operate in the youth, like the younger baseball.
But you're doing a little workshop.
Well, it's just nice for them to come out to the field, and then there's a guy named Coach Ballgame who does a cool job with kids, and so we did it with the MLB Players Association last year. Again, back to the point, they're just events to put on and get kids out to Gates Field and run around a little bit.
And that doesn't cost anything, does it?
No, I don't know what that. I think there's a registration
because
he flies
the baseball fee.
Yeah, he flies
or the
in and goes
speaker's
to
fee
staff
or something
and all that stuff. And
what's funny is I was sitting there. I think the first season I'm sitting there watching buckets of balls go out, and so I turned. I don't remember who it was that year, but last year again, I said to Jordan Brown, who will be helping again this year. I was like, how many balls do we go through in the summer?
Insane.
And it's thousands.
Oh yeah,
right?
Like I ordered, I think 250 dozen.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're not recycling the same ball.
No, like I get strong
it's
carrying all
awesome.
those things in.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So, I mean, they fly out, and we try and get them back, but some kid, little.
Or they end up on the top of Kearns High School.
Yeah,
so
or a little kid goes and grabs one he wants to keep it. I'm taking it away from him. You know what I mean? We're trying to make.
Good luck with
everybody's trying to make baseball fans all the time.
Absolutely.
So it's a great game.
So I invite you to go to mgfmarshalls.com. All the details are there about who are the Marshalls, why do they do what they do, who are the people involved as far as players, coaches, support staff. This is a real deal when it comes to baseball. And I will say this, as I lived in Chicago when the Cubbies won in 2016. I've been in sports now for 42 years calling baseball. I do it a little different, and so that's what makes my style a little different, but we have fun. And this is just special. So please bring your families out if you're local to Utah. Again, go to the website, check out the schedule. And if you've got a son that has aspirations of playing baseball in college someday and has hopes of being in the bigs, let me tell you, this is a world-class development league that is unmatched anywhere else in the country. And I know that you are humble in your own way, and you always deflect with me and praise everyone behind you, but you've been doing this now for 17 years.
Yes.
And you have truly built something special, Chad.
I appreciate that. It's been fun. I just tell everybody, been given the keys to a Ferrari and just drive it right. Don't drive it like a Yugo or something.
And I like how you protect the brand.
Yeah.
Because I'm an idea guy, so I come up with ideas, and Chad will be the first one to say, well, that doesn't fit into the mission. Yeah. No, we can't have this happen or this happen because it just doesn't fit into the mission. Yeah. And so I really appreciate that the integrity of the Marshall Gates Foundation brand stays intact with every decision you make for the players, the fans, everybody associated.
Yeah, I always tell everybody I got to keep it going in the right direction because I'm not qualified to do anything else. So we try and protect everything.
Well, you are qualified to do something else.
I don't know what I would do, but this is just me. I bet you 360 days a year I wear a Marshalls badge on my chest, you know what I mean, with something. And so, I think I'd be lost without it. So I'm very fortunate to
they'd be lost without you. It's a special calling that you have, and it's a special definitely a special mission that the Marshalls have. So I hope you'll take the opportunity to dig deeper into the website, learn more about the Marshalls, what it's all about. Come visit us if you can, if you're ever in Utah during the summer. It's located on the campus of Kearns High School. When they first told me that, I was like, I have to tell you, I had a perception in my mind. I'm like, well, it's out in Kearns.
Yeah.
I'm going to go out 54 South and go to Cougar Highway, and there's a baseball field
Drive around the back of the school.
I walked into to Gates Field and absolutely blown away. So if you haven't been, you got to. And bring the entire family. And again, one more little push for companies. You can have an entire corporate night at Gates Field. There's 2 games per night during the regular season, and then there's all kinds of extra games during the Gates World Series. So check out the website, get involved. Your entire company can have a night at Gates Field, and the tickets are how much?
Well, the tickets for the company are free.
Yeah, that's the best thing I've heard
We're
all
just
day.
trying to get some bodies in there and stuff like that. Again, to help the players play in front of people, which is part of the development cycle of
and last year there were so many games. I'm a little emotional about this. I mean, it would come down. It was the bottom of the 9th inning. There's one team that's a couple runs behind.
Well,
and somebody steps up and crushes a walk-off home run. I mean, this is real baseball.
I had a national cross-checker, which is basically, for people who don't know, that's like the top scout in an organization. He's the guy that can sit there and make draft. We had a national cross-checker come last summer, and he asked me, he goes, Chad, what's on the line tonight? And he'd already texted like 5 or 6 coaches in the Southeast saying, you got to send guys here. This is great. These guys did whatever. And he goes, Chad, what's on the line tonight? And I go, it was like a Wednesday and, July 2nd or whatever. And I go, well, what do you mean? He goes, they're playing so hard. They're screaming and yelling at each other. They're hooting and hollering. He goes, what's on the line tonight? And I go, nothing. And he goes, so why are they so into it? I go, well, I think we've hit that magic between guys who are going to play college baseball. They're getting after it. The competitive streak, but they live with each other. And then they play against each other. And then they work out together. And then so it becomes this older, like brother type deal. And you feel like you can say anything you want to your brother or do anything you want to your brother in the heat of battle, right? You don't feel like there's some sort of social convention. So it gets intense. It gets crazy. You know what I mean? It's a lot of fun. And just from even, a national baseball guy who goes and watches baseball at the highest amateur levels says, man, this is something good. These guys are getting crazy tonight. And how come? And it's just because that's the environment that's been created. Gates Field helps with that. Everybody's on top of each other. And it's just a lot of fun. So.
And not only do you play at Gates Field, I will just say this is kind of cool too. There's a few of the days that you actually play at BYU and UVU and Slick. And why do you do that?
We have to get off the field a little bit. It gets beat up. Since it's a natural
So it's to give it a rest.
And so the places we go mainly are turf surfaces that we can go and, we get to take some extra BP and some extra ground balls on top so they become more training days. I think we're even going to go back to Park City High School for a day again this year.
That was actually fun.
Yeah. Not too many people get to play baseball. I don't know what the elevation is, 7,000 feet up there, whatever. And so, we try and take the kids up there to play one day. So the main reason we get off the field is just because it just needs a day off. They got to put some extra water on it and try and get it back in check.
Sense.
As it fields over 85 to 90 games in the summer, And so that's really the main reason we go around. But it's also good for the kids. It reinvigorates them a little bit, different scenery and stuff like that, and see some other things and stuff like that too. And, I would imagine when University of Utah's baseball field gets done, we'll go up there for a couple days too and, do all that stuff. So it'll be fun.
Well, I am so grateful to you, Chad, for what you do for
Well, you're
my
the only
summers,
announcer
too.
that we've had requested. Everybody wants to know. We come in the park, they go, is Kaz showing up tonight?
Well, I'm honored and humbled to be a part of it.
Yeah.
So it's never about me. And I will say to the viewers, I have some personal connections now to beyond baseball. And I'll just leave it at that I have some experiences with the boys and some of the support men off the field that's been totally transformational for me. And so I get it that I'm not there just to sit behind a microphone and make it a fun experience for everybody. We're all there together to help these boys become men and these baseball players to become good citizens.
Yeah.
So Chad, thank you for all of your hard work that you put into the Marshalls. And if you don't know about the Marshalls, hopefully you've been bit a little bit by this video today to learn more about the Marshalls. Come watch some games. If you can't do it live in Utah, watch it on the stream. But Marshalls baseball is something really special. And Gates Field is a special place. It really is a field of dreams in Utah since 2004. So again, Chad, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Let's go, let's go, let's go.